Hello and welcome. This is the very first episode of the Cinque podcast. And in this first episode, I would like to give you an idea of the topics that we are going to discuss on this channel and also how I got here and why is this the right podcast for you. If you stay till the end, you will hear about the giveaway that I prepared for you and how you can enter the contest. I have this thirst for self discovery, and the more I dug into other podcasts or books of other thought leaders, the more I realized one thing. People are well aware of what they know, but they are unaware of what they think they know, but don't actually know. And they are even more unaware of the things they don't know. Okay, let's try to break that down. It was not until early 2020 when I first came across the phases of the menstrual cycle. Until then, all I knew about this mechanism that differentiates me from men was that I get a period every month and they don't. While, okay, it might sound overly simplified, it's not far from the truth. I've had about 180 periods until that moment. I was about 14 years into menstruating years, and all I knew about my cycle was my period. So until January of 2020, I was completely unaware of the things I did not know about myself. Now, before we embark on this journey together, I'd like to make one thing clear. When I refer to women, I am speaking in terms of biological sex, not gender identity. I do respect and I recognize the rich diversity of all gender identities and expressions. So in my work, you will hear me referring to women. Yes, and when I do so, I include anyone who experiences a menstrual cycle, regardless of their gender identity. Now, let's get back to what I found out in 2020. Well, it hit me really hard because I felt lost. I felt in the dark with nobody to guide me, and I was feeling very confused. Did I miss something? Was I the only one who didn't know that as a woman, my body goes through changes every month because of my hormones? And apparently, these changes affect how women feel physically and emotionally. It affects their minds, perceptions, and even how they see the world. And as I dug deeper, I discovered that actually many women were in the same boat of not knowing. And it wasn't because they didn't care about their well being or because they were not well educated enough, but simply because we didn't have access to this kind of information. We were collectively lacking this type of information. We did not get it from our mothers because our mothers, bless them, they did not get access to this kind of information either. So, why do we still in 2024 know so little about a woman's body when science and technology seem so advanced, right? And to answer that, let's just take a step back and revisit history. It's gonna be a really quick one. Just 200 years ago, hysteria was a diagnosis for various symptoms believed to be unique to women and supposedly caused by issues with the womb. And what's really astonishing is the belief that the womb was mobile and could actually move within the body, causing these symptoms. And this bizarre theory resulted in unconventional treatments such as bloodlettings, forced hysterectomies, that's when they removed the uterus, and even removing ovaries or mutilating the clitoris. How awful is that? Now, looking at it from today's perspective, of course, it sounds outrageous, like that's sheer madness. Who can do that, right? It doesn't seem logical to do. Today, we no longer have the word hysteria, but the underlying attitudes towards women's health and life experiences are very similar. Women's pain and symptoms are still doubted and often said to be psychological, right? We move from hysteria to attributing symptoms to women's hormones or supposed emotional instability. Yes, today we still believe that women use their hormones as an excuse for their emotional shifts. And probably on one hand, that is true. We sometimes use it as an excuse because we don't fully understand how certain hormones impact the chemistry of our brains. I mean, not even science understands exactly how these hormones influence our moods and emotional states. So, when we don't understand ourselves and why our moods shift from one day to the next, we simply say, oh, it's hormones. Well, science starts to prove this more and more using research. And certain parts of the brain become thicker during different phases of the cycle, which supports memory and other capabilities. Um, so the chemistry of our brains actually changes every single month. At certain times, different skills and capacities just come more naturally because our brains are primed to enhance these talents. So when we live our life following the same schedule every single day, of course you will experience frustration because we expect ourselves to perform every day at the same capacity. But in reality, our bodies and brains are simply not equipped for this repetitive daily routine every single day. Now, in the past, women were made to feel ashamed of their bodies, so they stayed silent or uninformed about their own health. And as a result, they couldn't recognize or talk about their symptoms, which left them powerless against this medical system that often ignored their concerns. What's striking is that during those times, menstruation and menopause were actually seen as illnesses instead of being natural parts of a woman's life. While we no longer see them as illnesses, we still don't learn much about these topics unless we proactively seek out information. But collectively, as women, we are now beginning to realize that there's a lot actually that we don't know about our bodies. And we start looking for answers. And compared to 200 years ago, there is a big shift that has happened. We are no longer staying silent anymore, and we've learned how to express about how we feel, when we feel it, and we are getting better at managing emotions. We are now becoming more knowledgeable about our bodies, and we want to understand how hormones impact our brains, emotions, and we've learned how to also navigate these changes. And by doing so, we are going to become a generation that will be ready to embrace menopause because we've seen our mothers struggling with it. We felt their pain, we saw them coming out of surgeries that could have been prevented, we saw their confusion and the pain of just being in the unknown. We are the generation that is going to change this for ourselves, but also for our daughters and the generations to come. So, if we continue to educate women about the mechanism that differentiates them from men, I really wonder how future generations will view our current lifestyle. Will they cringe seeing how, as women, we try to do everything that a man does, but in a woman's body? What will they say about trying to fit into a mold designed for men, which only leads us to burnout and exhaustion? Will they look back at this time the same way that we look at the treatments for hysteria from 200 years ago? For now, one thing is certain. As women, we still feel like no one truly gets us. Not our friends, not our families, or the society we live in, and sometimes not even ourselves. The reality is that as women, we are still figuring ourselves out. But what's different now is that women today acknowledge that there's still so much we don't know about ourselves, and we are actually eager to explore and grow. And just like you, I am also on my own journey of self actualization. I am learning as I go, and I am aware that there is so much more to learn and discover about my body and my mind as a woman. So I'll be here sharing with you the latest discoveries in science, my own thoughts, and the tricks that have helped me and my clients in living a life more in tune with our cyclical nature. Now, would you classify this podcast under the self help or self improvement category? No, I don't think so. Self improvement can sometimes make us feel like we are never good enough. It can also give the impression that we are supposed to stay the same forever. But as humans, we are always evolving. And as women, even more, we are changing all the time, literally. We are like water. We are the 4 seasons in one single month. So I'm committed to doing things differently over here. Instead of self improvement, I choose to focus on self empowerment. A woman's deep understanding of herself is really her ultimate empowerment tool. The one thing that distinguishes you from a man is the same thing that will make it or break it, that will help you succeed or fail. It is impossible to be an undeniable successful leader, an entrepreneur, a successful mother, a caregiver, a partner, if your body systems are all dysregulated. Your symptoms will slow down all your aspirations. Think about it. Your body is louder than your aspiration. Menstrual cycle health is not just about ways in which you can get pregnant or avoid pregnancy or just about periods. I look at a menstrual cycle health as a system. It is a system of guiding principles that will become your own sense of intuition. Intuition not in a psychic way, but feeling into what is naturally going to be good for you. Because ultimately, you are the one who knows what's best for you. So, in my work as a menstrual cycle coach, I focus on two areas: mindset and hormones. Mindset because your voice is the only voice that you cannot remove from your life, and hormones because they are what influence your physiological and emotional needs as a woman during the menstruating years, during pregnancy, postpartum, menopause, postmenopause. And a practice that combines both is cycle awareness. Cycle awareness means being able to observe yourself, your values, your thoughts from an objective point of view, and really understand how these hormonal fluctuations impact your daily needs, your mindset, your perspectives, your emotions, how you show up in the world, and how you internalize the external world. It becomes this powerful tool that will help you create more of what you want in life. And not because you're lacking something, but because you recognize that there is more inside of you willing to be discovered. Now, if this sounds right up your street, I am genuinely thrilled for you. You're going to love what I have in store for you. Our conversations on this podcast will help you get to know your cycle. And once you know your cycle, you can truly know yourself. That's all for our little chat today. If you like this episode and you're excited for the next one, please share this episode with another woman in your life that will learn from these conversations. And as I told you at the very beginning of the episode, I have a little gift for you. 2 lucky winners who subscribe and leave a written review of the show will win a spot in my next group coaching program. You can learn about the program on thesyncway.com/coaching and on my Instagram page. And I don't want a 5-star review, although I really hope you enjoy the episodes. I really want your honest written feedback so I can learn from your feedback points and continue to improve the show. And I will be announcing the winners in an upcoming episode. Till next time.